I talk with invisible people and they talk back to me. Hi there, it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me today. In my last video, I talked about how we should all talk to kids more and around kids more. They need to hear more language being spoken. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 different strategies to increase the amount of language you use around the kids in your life. Before I start my little presentation today, I want to mention that asking questions is not one of the best ways to use more language around your kids. And a lot of people sort of gravitate towards this. They just start asking kids lots of questions. What are you playing with? What color is this? Which animal is the cow? Where is the garbage truck? They just start firing questions at kids. This is a really bad idea for a number of reasons. The main one being that kids, they don't want to feel like they're under pressure. They don't want to feel like it's a quiz or a test. They want to feel like they're playing. Think about other kids and how they might interact with your child if they were really good communicators. They would not be asking the kid questions all the time. That feels really awkward. Another problem with that as a strategy is that kids need to learn how to initiate conversation and how to participate in back and forth conversation. And simply answering questions does not allow them the opportunity to participate in lots of different styles of interaction. So we want to make sure we're not just asking questions all the time. In fact, I barely ask any questions at all unless I actually need to know the answer. Don't ask kids questions that you already know the answer to. What color is this truck is not a great question because you already know that the truck is red, and the child already knows that you already know that the truck is red. And so there's no point in answering it, and it can lead kids to tune you out because all you're going to do is ask them questions you already know the answer to. What point is there in communicating with you? We need to make it fun if we are going to use more words around our kids. So asking questions is a downer in this conversation. What should we do instead? My first suggestion is to comment. Commenting is my favorite strategy because it's easy. We watch what the child is doing and we comment on it. Ooh, that looks fun. The guy's gonna go in the truck? That tractor's gonna crash, oh no! Things like this are great comments, and the more we can expand them, the better. We don't need to comment on everything. We don't need to sit at every play session that the child has on the floor and comment every moment. But do keep in mind that it's a great idea to be commenting on what your child does, especially play stuff, but it doesn't hurt to do this in other scenarios as well. I know parents who do this sort of thing on the playground are oftentimes mocked by other parents who just want to sit on the bench and read a book, or probably more likely just look at their phones. But this is a really good language learning strategy. Be with your child, comment, "Wee, we're going down the slide." When your child runs towards the swings, you can model, "I want to swing." There's all sorts of language learning that can take place in naturalistic environments, and that's the kind of environment where kids learn best. So don't be afraid to comment. You do need to leave your kids some time to interact with other kids, of course, and so have a good balance between times where your kid can play alone, because of course we want kids to play alone, and times where you're playing with your child and where you're talking and using lots of nice, rich language. My second strategy is model. This one comes kind of to be difficult for some people who don't have a background in child development because we want to model from the child's perspective. So as I mentioned in the previous one, an example of this might be, "I want to swing." If your child runs towards the swings and doesn't say anything, you might model, "I want to swing." "Come on, Mom." And then you run behind her and say, "Here I come." So basically, when you're modeling, you're doing it as if you were speaking from the child's mouth, because we want the child to hear exactly what she should say and be able to repeat it, imitate it exactly, and have it be appropriate coming out of her mouth. So your child's running for the swing and you say, "Oh, you want to swing?" If your child is one of those kids who does something called echolalia, kids with autism spectrum disorders often do this, and so do other kids, mostly in the language delayed realm. Mostly typical kids don't do this a whole lot, but sometimes they do. So if you're running for the swing, you say, "Oh, you want to swing?" Your child is likely to say, "Oh, you want to swing?" And she thinks that means "I want to swing." So we need to make sure we say things from the child's perspective if we're going to do modeling like this. You can also do modeling when your child reaches for something. You can say, "I want water." If your child is angry, you can say, "I feel angry." If your child pokes at the door, "Open door, please." There are all sorts of opportunities. This is a great strategy for increasing the amount of language you use around your kids. Number 3, mock conversations. When I am playing with kids, have carrots talk to each other, have animal crackers talk to each other, have cars talk to each other. I talk with the car talks to me. I talk with invisible people and they talk back to me. We want to have these conversations happening where people talk to each other because your child is learning from that. So think about all the creative opportunities that there might be in your home or in your classroom, and think how many different ways that you could create conversations where it's just you, but maybe there's a tiger and a bear and they're having a little chat. Number 4, sing songs. I'm talking about made-up songs that you make up on the spur of the moment with language in them. Perhaps you are putting the dolly to bed and you say, "Good night, Dolly. Good night, Dolly. Good night, Dolly. It's time to go to sleep." And you put the dolly in the bed. A lot of times our kids who have difficulty producing verbal language can sing it a lot easier than they can say it. I have a little guy in my class who has some significant difficulty with apraxia of speech, which is a difficulty sequencing the muscle movements that control the muscles that create speech. He knows exactly what he wants to say, but it doesn't come out. And we have discovered that music time is the time when language comes out of him best, because we're singing the words. And sung words come from a different part of your brain than do spoken words. I don't know why this is, but it's true. Also, if your child memorizes words and then spouts them out, that also comes from a different part of the brain than just normal extemporaneous spoken speech. So teaching your child these little songs can be a great step towards your child having those words and that language use to use in daily life as well. Think up bathing songs and brushing teeth songs. Actually, your child can't sing while brushing teeth, but you can. And going to the bathroom songs and time for bed songs. Just make them up. Eventually, you will come up with some that you probably use on a regular basis, but not only is it great to have music in your home, not necessarily playing in the background all the time, but a musical home where you create using music. But it is great from a language perspective as well. My 5th suggestion is to use scripts. As I mentioned, kids who have difficulty producing the words, if they memorize the words first, sometimes it comes out easier. We found this with adults who have difficulty with language. If they learn the lines for a play, then they can portray themselves as people who don't have as much difficulty with language as they actually have, because they memorize the words and then out it comes because it was stamped in there and now you can reproduce it. Same with people who have disfluency, sometimes known as stuttering. People who are disfluent maybe might be disfluent in their normal day when producing language, but if they memorize something or sing something, as mentioned in the previous step, then it's not as difficult to be fluent, to have smooth speech without any disfluencies in them. It's very fascinating, and it's because it's from a different part in your brain, and one part is affected and the other part isn't. If we can harness the part of the brain that isn't affected, then help it communicate with the part that is affected, it can work. The whole process can work a little bit better. The kind of scripts I'm talking about are social emotional scripts. So if your child is upset, you could say, I feel sad. Sally has the toy I wanted to play with, and now I have to wait for a turn. I don't like waiting, but my turn will come soon. It's only 1 minute away. In these scripts, we're talking the kid through an emotion or a situation that happens, expressing the emotion that the child is feeling, and reminding her that it will be okay. It's not going to be forever that she feels like this. This feeling will pass. You can think of lots of different little scripts on various topics that might come up. Just make them up as you go along, but try to have that sort of a format. You express how the child feels. You say, basically, it's fine to have this feeling. I don't get to act poorly just because I have a feeling. And this feeling won't last forever. That's kind of the pattern that seems to work pretty well. There you have it, 5 tips for using more language around the kids in your life. Please don't neglect to subscribe if you appreciate this content, and ding the little notification bell so that you won't miss my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for wanting to help the kids in your life. You are great. See you in my next video. Bye.